Hey everybody, Chris here. Are we seeing the setup for a Dogecoin Supercycle? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. And we have had up and down trading throughout 2025. Lately it's been rather bearish, possibly since October 10th and that big Binance-led flash crash that we had. Market sentiment is still down, but chart structure and a lot of the news, especially upcoming for Dogecoin, may point to higher prices. Let's get into it. Let me show you the charts in the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. We start here with the current Dogecoin chart, 17,666. That's right. Almost exactly where we were yesterday morning when I made my video. Yes, we had this pullback on Tuesday. It was a rather bearish looking Tuesday, but Wednesday so far, excitement is government shutdown ending today, right? And so we look at this price action and it's just like up and down, right? Again, more up and down action happening, kind of a wait and see mode. Yet again, Bitcoin back over $105,000, coming back into its purple box. But it was yesterday at 10 o'clock. It was the Jane Street, yes, the Jane Street dump. We talked about this during the live stream on Tuesday evening here. It just happens again and again and again, right at 10 o'clock. It's just stock market opens at 9:30. There's some volatility, and at 10 o'clock, a big dump. And we've seen that on Tuesdays. We looked at like the last 6 or 7 Tuesdays. We had this, the Jane Street dump, right? And of course, when Bitcoin does that, it pulls Dogecoin and ETH and others all down with it right at the same time. But what about Dogecoin now, and where is its price in relation to the big picture? We're going to look at that, right? Super cycle, extended cycle. A lot of you are bears, right? Sentiment is down, I get it. But the chart structure and the news coming up may paint a different picture. Bitcoin back to 105. Ethereum, XRP, Dogecoin regain ground on $500 million of ETF inflows. That's right. The ETF buyers saw the dip yesterday, and so were buying. They were buying on the dip. $524 million in. Last week, we had $558 million out on Friday, and they're just all back buying the dip. So this is why we want Dogecoin ETFs, right? We want the Dogecoin ETFs to come in and build a base for Dogecoin. That's why we want the government shutdown to end. Fast track the new ETFs, particularly Dogecoins, because that's going to open up a lot of buying for Doge, I believe. Now, I know the ETF buyers, when we saw the last week, we saw a lot of outflows. There was a lot of negativity. Didn't start right away when Bitcoin started pulling back, but it caught up, and some traders were getting a little antsy there, but they're coming back, buying on the dip. What else is happening is futures, right? Bitcoin open interest has plummeted. Of course, that was, right, October 10th, right, the big flash crash took out all of that leverage. So the open interest or leverage, right, got wiped out. Huge amount got wiped out, $20 billion. It started to come back, but lately, as Bitcoin's been pulling back along with alts, right, open interest is getting crushed. It's getting crushed. It's now the lowest it's been since as long as this chart goes back in April. And that's because the Jane Streets and the market makers keep taking out more leverage. And so they're getting pummeled. Right? They're getting pummeled. Maybe they'll slow down. Now look, we've shown this chart before. Gel has updated yet again. During bull markets, there are pullbacks in the Bitcoin price. Happened in 2020 into 2021, happened in 2016 into 2017, like big amounts back then, 31, 40, 41%. And we even had 32%, 26% in 2021. And this is during bull markets. I'm not talking about the big pullbacks that happen in the bears, right? These are in bull markets. We do have pullbacks. And this 22% current pullback could be just another dip with Bitcoin price going forward. Here's another view of death cycles, right? We just had the death cross. We just had a death cross for Dogecoin, XRP, Cardano, right? Bitcoin's is coming up. And if Bitcoin doesn't get, up above like 115, 120 by next week, we may be seeing a death cross on Bitcoin. But you know what? This cycle, we've already had 3 death crosses in Bitcoin. And what happened after each one of those death crosses? Bitcoin went on a run, right? Had a death cross, Bitcoin went on a run. Had a death cross, Bitcoin went on a run. So doesn't mean bear market. Death crosses don't mean anything about the future. It just tells you the current trend, right? When there's a pullback. That's all it is. Lines on a chart, right? We keep talking about lines on a chart. How about ETH? Well, ETH has had a roller coaster year. It's essentially back to where it was in January. ETH got killed, right, during the tariff, the Trump tariff scare up until the April 14th, right, or 10th, right around that date. That was the bottom. ETH made a huge comeback and then is pulling back again. So it's been a big roller coaster ride for ETH. We look at ETH again because it's altcoins, right? And how about altcoin market cap? Well, if we look back in history to 2021, we're right back where we were. For altcoin market cap, that's total too. That's all altcoins, altcoins except Bitcoin. And that's where we were in market cap. Now it's a lot more spread out because we've got millions of altcoins now, right? We didn't have that many in 2021. So you're like, Chris, like the price is higher in many cases in 2021, but in some cases it's still much lower, like Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin's lower now than it was in 2021. But we're circling right here, ready for that next big move. And is that next big move in total too going to be an alt season? We've been talking a lot about that. There are many who believe that altcoins still have a big run to go. And that if it's true from 2017 to 2021, but right now 2025 isn't happening, right? So now Crypto Elite says, I'm saying the major altcoin season will come in 2026. And most likely no one will believe me again, right? But there's the rhythm, right? And he talks about it, right? The altcoin cycles. And right now, the 2025 second bull run is loading, but the pattern hasn't failed yet. It's just being extended out. And we see this extension out, not as quick of a turnaround as we had from the bear market in 2018 and the turnaround 2020 into 2021. We haven't had that this cycle. It's been more slow and steady, even for alts. Some alts have spiked, but some have been rather laggard, right? And of course, a lot of it is spread out amongst all these other stupid tokens. We get that. But this is the potential that alt season has. And what could happen is the cycle becomes 2021 through 2026 now, mirroring the 2018 to 2021 cycle, but in a much longer duration. That is what the charts are showing now. SoFi is like, look, SoFi, right? They're a bank. Guess what? They launched crypto trading. The first FDIC-insured national chartered bank to offer Bitcoin and crypto. They always say Bitcoin. It's just crypto directly on its banking app. Buy, sell crypto alongside banking. You know how the banks do it, right? They just want the money. And I'm guessing that this app, SoFi, I don't use SoFi, but I'm guessing the app is very similar to like Webull, Crypto.com, Robinhood. Huge spread, right? Between the bid and the ask. They're just going to make a shit ton of money, right? People buys Bitcoin. They want it at 105, right? They're going to pay 106 right now for a $105,000 Bitcoin. If they're going to sell at 105, they'll actually get 104, right? And SoFi will pocket the difference because that's what these other apps do. And, or they have fees. I mean, they could have fees as well with their trading. This just started. I don't use SoFi, but I'm guessing. But that starts to open up more crypto buying, right, for users out there. And more users that haven't been exposed directly to crypto yet can start to do this on banking apps. That's why this cycle is changing. It's because It's becoming more institutionalized. Crypto is not going to be as volatile, I think, as it was before, except, of course, for Binance and their manipulation of big crypto crashes. And what's the Fed going to do, right? The Fed's going to most likely lower interest rates later in December because the jobs aren't looking so good. Inflation is still okay. Most likely, we're going to see another rate cut. Deutsche Bank, though, expects the Fed to start QE in Q1 2026. So we're not getting that quantitative easing happening, right? The QT will end on December 1st, but as I said before, right, it takes a couple months to turn around and start the QE process. And that's going to be in 2026 now. Get ready for the money printer. 2026, again, another sign of super cycle. Right now, Doge is still in fear, right? 33 still in fear. It's at the upper end of fear, about to go into neutral. If we see us back in the purple box, right, we'll be back in the neutral zone. So that's building for Doge. Dogecoin shows early signs of a new bullish cycle. What? A new bullish cycle? Yes. Today, entering a familiar multi-year accumulation pattern that has historically preceded its most powerful monthly rallies, the current chart setup closely mirrors previous cycles. So we looked at this chart from Trader Allen, right, showing, this sort of the bear cycle and bullish, right, but not with the full blow off top. We were talking about this in the live stream yesterday. Matt was asking good questions. We haven't had the parabolic run. We may not have the parabolic run again, but the chart structure is still showing at least another run. And we think there's specific good news, which will be catalyst for Dogecoin that will cause this to happen as well. Most likely end of 2025 or into 2026. Right now it's a falling wedge setup, but this falling wedge is on Bitcoin and ETH and like all cryptos, right? With the big candle wick that comes down for the flash crash on October 10th. Could this be the setup for the turnaround, break out of the wedge, move higher? We've seen this many times in the past. And Bitcoin Census is saying, look, if we just look at the weekly chart and we look back early 2024, late 2024, we're in this long extended accumulation zone. And this could be next. Now, I don't know if we should attach these tops with a straight line. I believe more in curves, and that curve could be pointing to something less than what they're talking about. But we'll show that on a bigger scale. Historical patterns reveal Doge's explosive post-breakout rallies, and this was Dima James Potts, and he uses the straight lines. And I'm like, well, no, let's take that chart and let's modify it. So if we look at 2017, 2021, and we draw the arc with this red line here, that could point to a $4 Dogecoin sometime in 2026. If we see that big explosive rally, will it get that high? Now, if we discount the overhyped 2021, which is my other part of the thesis, curving line for bigger market cap, and again, this is on a logarithmic scale, and we attach 2014, right, to 2017, and then we discount the overhyped run of Doge up to 71 cents, just because 2021 was so crazy. We just draw that line. Now we're talking $2 Doge, but it's into 2026 because this run isn't going to happen. We're not going to have Moonvember, I don't think, as we're almost halfway into November, and I don't see Elon launching X money yet. So that could be later. That could be one of the big catalysts that we could see for Dogecoin. But again, this accumulation that we've had from 2023, right? We had big runs, pullbacks, big runs, pullbacks, runs, pullback. I mean, that's how Dogecoin has been trading, but the overall trend is still up, not bearish. That's what a super cycle looks like that will continue this extended cycle much longer, which could also be the same for Bitcoin, ETH, and other cryptos. So that's what we're looking at. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know where you stand right now with your sentiment about Dogecoin and this possible extended or super cycle. Give the video a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.